My name is Kola, and the story I'm about to tell you happened a long, long time ago, back when I was just a boy. This was before the big paved roads found their way to our village, a time when our lives were woven into the very fabric of the river. The river was our lifeline. It gave us fish to eat, fresh water to drink, and helped our crops grow strong. It was a source of joy, a place for play, and a provider of life. But that same river, the one we loved and depended on, almost became our undoing. I remember that year vividly. The rains were relentless, falling day after day without a break. The river, once so gentle and predictable, began to swell. It grew angry, its currents churning with a newfound power. You could hear its roar from far away, a constant low growl that warned of its temper. The village elders, wise from a lifetime of watching the seasons, saw the danger. They gathered us children and spoke with grave voices. No child should go near the river, especially at night. The water spirit is restless, but hunger, as they say, has no ears for warnings. With the farms flooded, food was scarce, and every drop of clean water was precious. One evening, the air was thick with humidity, and the moon hid behind a blanket of dark, heavy clouds. The wind was cold, carrying the damp smell of wet earth and the distant rumble of the furious river. My friend Sadiq and I were trailing behind our mothers, our small clay pots balanced on our heads. We were on our way to fetch water, a daily chore that had suddenly become a dangerous mission. The path was slick with mud, and the usual cheerful chatter of the village was replaced by a tense silence, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the ominous sound of the rushing water getting louder and louder. As we got closer to the riverbank, the ground vibrating slightly under our feet, a sudden, piercing scream cut through the night. It wasn't a playful shout. It was a cry of pure terror. We all froze, then another scream, and another. My heart hammered against my ribs. We ran the last few steps to the edge, and what I saw next is burned into my memory forever. In the dim, eerie light I saw chaos. A small boy, no older than myself, had slipped on the muddy bank. The river, like a hungry beast, had snatched him instantly. His arms flailed for a moment above the dark, swirling water before he was pulled under. Another child, a girl who had been standing nearby, screamed his name, and without a second thought, she reached out, trying to grab his hand to pull him back. But the current was too strong. It had no mercy. It took her too, dragging her into its powerful embrace. In the blink of an eye, they were both gone. A third child, seeing his friends disappear, panicked. He scrambled backward, but his foot caught on a root. He tumbled, not into the main current, but into a swirling eddy near the bank. He was thrashing, his cries choked by mouthfuls of water. I saw it all with my own two eyes. There were no spirits, no mystical creatures from the old stories our grandmothers told us. It was just the raw, unforgiving power of nature-strong water against small, weak bodies. The river bank erupted in pandemonium. Mothers were wailing, their cries of anguish echoing into the darkness. Men, brave and strong, shouted commands and without hesitation, jumped into the treacherous water, forming a human chain. They fought against the current, their muscles straining, their faces masks of grim determination. They were trying to reach the third boy, the one still struggling near the edge. But the river fought back, pushing and pulling, trying to claim another victim. I stood there, frozen, clutching my mother's wrapper, my small water pot forgotten at my feet. Sadiq was next to me, his eyes wide with a terror I had never seen before. The struggle seemed to last an eternity. The men finally managed to pull the third boy out. He was coughing, sputtering, but he was alive. They laid him on the grass, and his mother collapsed beside him, weeping with a mixture of relief and horror. But the other two, they were lost. The search continued through the night, with lanterns and torches casting flickering, desperate lights over the dark water. But the river held its secrets close. By the time the first light of dawn broke, painting the sky in soft shades of gray and pink, a heavy blanket of grief had settled over our village. 3 families were shattered. 2 children were gone forever, swallowed by the river that had always sustained us. The entire village was in mourning. The usual morning sounds of roosters crowing and people preparing for the day were replaced by a profound, heartbreaking silence. That night changed me, it changed all of us. The river was no longer a playground. The joy we once felt by its banks was replaced by a deep, abiding respect, tinged with fear. I stopped playing my usual games of skipping stones and racing paper boats. Every time I looked at the water, I saw the faces of the children who were taken. I saw the power that lay beneath its calm surface. And I learned to listen. When the elders spoke, their words carried a new weight. Their warnings were not just old tales to scare children, they were lessons paid for with lives. Our village came together in its grief and found a new resolve. The men worked for weeks, building a sturdy fence along the most dangerous parts of the riverbank. A new rule was established, one that was never to be broken. No one, child or adult, was to go to the river to fetch water after sunset. We would collect what we needed during the day and make it last. It's true what they say. Fear can teach us sense, and loss can teach us wisdom. The tragedy forced us to become more careful, more mindful of the world around us. We learned that nature is both a giver and a taker, and it demands our respect. Even now, so many years later, living in a different place with roads and taps that bring water right to my door, I am sometimes haunted by that night. On quiet evenings, when I hear the sound of rain or even the gentle flow of a stream, my heart still beats a little faster. I'm transported back to that muddy riverbank, to the screams and the darkness. But I'm also reminded that I am here, that I am alive, because on that terrible night, I learned a lesson that I have carried with me ever since. We must listen to the wisdom of those who came before us, and we must never, ever underestimate the power of the natural world. Thanks for listening to my story. Please be safe and take care of one another.